anymore. That is not personal development. That is not the result of a book you read or a habit you built. That is a soul-level shift, and it has been authorized at dimensions that operate far above anything visible to the human eye. Leave a comment right now if you have been sensing this. Just tell me you are here, because what I am about to share is going to confirm something you have been quietly carrying for a long time. Let me tell you what has been happening, not what might be happening, not what could happen if you work hard enough or believe strongly enough. What has already been happening in real time. While you were going through your days thinking that the universe was largely indifferent to your efforts, while you were making difficult decisions in rooms where no one would ever know what you chose, while you were being kind to people who gave you no particular reason to be kind, while you were holding yourself to a standard that nobody around you required of you because you required it of yourself. None of that was invisible. Every single moment of it was being received. There is a specific category of celestial observation that most people never qualify for. Not because they are bad people, but because they never reach the level of character consistency that triggers it. It is not reserved for saints or spiritual teachers or people who have made dramatic sacrifices on a public stage. It is reserved for souls who demonstrate over a sustained period in private moments where the choice to do otherwise would have cost them nothing, that who they are is not performance, that their values are not situational, that their integrity does not require an audience. Most people, if you trace their behavior honestly over time, show a version of themselves in public and a different version in private. The gap between those two versions is what gets measured, and in your case, that gap is extraordinarily small. Small enough that when it was measured, the observation was escalated to a level of evaluation that rarely happens. What followed that escalation is the reason I came to you today. A formal review was conducted, not a passive glance, not a brief assessment. A thorough, documented review of your record across a significant span of your life. The moments where you chose dignity over revenge, the moments where you absorbed pain quietly rather than spreading it outward, the moments where you could see exactly how to manipulate a situation in your favor, and you chose not to simply because that is not who you are. All of it was reviewed. And when the conclusion was reached, it was not the conclusion of a soul still working toward readiness. It was the conclusion of a soul that had already arrived, without knowing it, without ceremony, without anyone handing you a confirmation. The decree that followed was not a suggestion and not a possibility. It was an official authorization of your complete transformation into the person you have been becoming in silence. Now, I want to tell you specifically what that means for the life you are walking into, because the details matter, and you deserve to have them. The first thing that has been confirmed about you is that you are becoming a source of authority that does not need to be explained or earned in conventional ways. When you walk into a space, something in the air changes. Not because you try to create that effect, but because the frequency you carry has reached a concentration that environments simply respond to. You have already seen this operating in small ways. The person at a gathering who seeks you out specifically, even though they do not know you. The colleague who copies your calm in a room full of pressure. The stranger who tells you something deeply personal within minutes of meeting you, as if they somehow already trusted you before they had any reason to. That is not your personality type. That is your frequency already leaking through. And what has been confirmed is that this will intensify dramatically as the full manifestation of your transformation arrives. The second thing that has been confirmed is that you are becoming a person around whom resolution happens. Situations that have been stuck will move when you enter them. Conversations that have been circling without landing will land when you show up. People who have been unable to find clarity will find it in your presence, not because you will give them speeches or profound advice, but because the spiritual frequency you carry activates something in the people around you that was dormant before you arrived. You are a catalyst for answers that were already present but needed the right environment to emerge. This is not a role you will choose. It is simply what you will be. The third thing is perhaps the most personal and the one that will land most deeply if you sit with it honestly. You are becoming inextinguishable. And I say that not as poetry, but as a literal spiritual fact about your current state. Think about the things you have been through, not the ordinary difficulties, not the temporary setbacks, but the things that should, by any reasonable measure, have left you hollow. The betrayals that came from people who were supposed to be safe, the losses that arrived without warning, the periods of complete darkness where the path forward was genuinely invisible and you had no guarantee that anything would improve. And yet you are here, not barely here, not here in survival mode, with nothing left here, with light still in you, still choosing to grow, still reaching for something better. That does not happen by accident. That is a soul that has been sealed at a depth that ordinary circumstances cannot breach. And the confirmation that came through for you is that this sealing is now complete. Whatever comes next will test you, but it cannot destroy you. That outcome has been permanently removed from your available futures. If that landed somewhere real for you, give this video a like right now. Not as a transaction, but as a moment of agreement with yourself that you are ready to receive everything I am still about to tell you. I need to talk about the people who decided you were not worth their belief. The ones who looked at your dreams and called them naive. The ones who walked out at the moment you needed presence the most and called they're leaving your problem. The ones who actively worked against you, not out of competition, but out of something more personal and more bitter. Because something in them understood that you carried something they did not have access to, and they resented you for it. I know those people exist in your history. And I know there is a part of you that has wondered what will become of them, even if you have been too gracious to say it out loud. Here is what I can tell you. Some of them already know something has shifted. The moves they used to make against you no longer land the way they used to. The narratives they built about you no longer hold the way they used to. And a portion of them, the ones with enough clarity to recognize what they are dealing with, have already begun to withdraw. Not because they repented, not because they changed, because they recognized they were pressing against something they could not press through. And self-preservation told them to stop. There will be no dramatic reckoning, just an absence. And you will find that the absence is enough for the ones who press on regardless. The universe will handle what you have not asked it to handle. Spiritual law is not slow. What they planted, they will harvest. You will not need to engineer anything. Your only job is to continue becoming what you are already becoming. The rest operates without you. And when your transformation becomes fully visible in the physical world, those who were certain you would never become what you are will be forced to witness exactly that. Every milestone you reach will land on them. Every door that opens for you will remind them of the one they tried to close. You will not have to say anything. Your life will speak, and it will speak clearly. Now, I want to be direct about the protection that has been placed around your transformation, because this changes how you should interpret what has been happening to you and what is about to happen. There are multiple layers to this protection. The first operates around the opportunities that approach you. Not every open door is the right door. Some of them are designed to look like exactly what you need and lead somewhere that would delay or diminish your transformation significantly. The protection assigned to your path filters those out before they can reach you with enough force to truly pull you in. This is why some things that seemed perfect have fallen apart at the last moment, with no clear explanation. That was not failure. That was intelligence operating on your behalf at a level you were not positioned to see from where you were standing. The second layer operates around the people entering your life. As the frequency you carry continues to rise, people who are incompatible with where you are going will find it increasingly uncomfortable to remain close to you. Not because of anything you do, not because you become cold or unkind, but because there is a natural incompatibility between your current frequency and the energy of someone who is not ready or willing to grow. This departure will not always be gentle. Some of it will feel like loss, but the space it creates will be filled with people who can hold the same standard you hold, who can match your depth, who are moving in the same direction at the same velocity. Those people are already approaching. You will know them by how natural it feels to be around them and by how quickly something real is established between you. The third layer is the one that becomes most visible in retrospect. There have been moments in your life, and there will be more, where the logical outcome of a situation pointed clearly towards something destructive, and that outcome simply did not arrive. Where something intervened, where a coincidence happened that was too perfectly timed to be a coincidence, where you were spared something without any apparent reason. And only looking back much later did you understand what you had been spared from. That is direct celestial intervention in moments where the stakes of your transformation are genuinely high. That protection does not make you immune to difficulty, but it makes you immune to being permanently removed from your path. You will face real things, you will endure real things, but you will arrive. Here is what the confirmed timeline of your transformation looks like. There will be a moment of sudden clarity about a specific step you need to take. It will not come gradually. It will arrive with the feeling of recognition, as though you always knew this, and the knowing was simply waiting for the right moment to become conscious. When you act on it, a sequence of events will begin to unfold that could not have been engineered by human planning alone. Shortly after, there will be a first major physical confirmation. Something you have been working toward, praying toward, waiting on will materialize in a way you can point to and say, this is real, this is happening, this is not just something I believe anymore. This confirmation matters because transformation that stays invisible eventually becomes doubt. Your confirmation is on schedule, your circle will continue to change. The old will continue releasing, the new will continue arriving. And you will stop grieving the departures the way you used to, because you will start to understand that each one was creating room for something that belongs in the next chapter of your life, not the last one. Your financial situation will shift in a way that is not about excess, but about provision. Exactly what you need for exactly the phase you are in. The constant low-level anxiety about resources that has followed many of your best decisions will begin to lift, replaced by a sense that what is required for the next right step is reliably available. And finally, the complete version of who you have been becoming will be undeniable to you, to others, to anyone who was paying attention. The person you were and the person you are will be so different that the contrast will be visible to everyone who knew both. The timeline on all of this is not fixed in the way a calendar is fixed. It is responsive. Every time you choose integrity when dishonesty would have been easier, the timeline accelerates. Every time you choose your future over your comfort, the timeline accelerates. Every time you refuse to contract back into old patterns, even when the pressure to do so is real, the timeline accelerates. You have been doing all of these things. That is precisely why the decree about you was finalized. Your character demonstrated that the investment of transformation would not be wasted on you. What I want you to take from this is not a feeling that lasts for an hour and then fades. I want you to take from this a shift in how you understand what has been happening to you. The years that felt like struggle were documentation. The moments that felt like failure were evidence of your character under pressure. The times you held your values when no one saw were the very content of the report that changed your spiritual category. None of it was wasted. None of it was arbitrary. All of it was received, and the conclusion it produced was your transformation confirmed as inevitable. If this reached something real in you today, leave a comment below with the word confirmed. Let that be the moment you mark for yourself. The point where you stepped out of wondering whether your transformation is real and into the certainty that it is. And if you know someone who is in this same stage, someone who has